How are we doing, everybody? We are live. If you're replaying this, breaking down the upcoming exciting winter weather at store. We have snow at play for the Northeast next week. For portions of the Northeast next week, we have an upcoming polar vortex disruption that won't be major, but the effects will be felt. And we will also have potential pre-Christmas storm to keep an eye on down the road. So stay tuned here. There's a lot of exciting winter weather in the works here, and we are going to break it all down. So come on in and enjoy the ride, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just wait for some people to filter in here while I get this set up. Let's pull up the chat here. Pull up chat. There we go. Now I can see all of y'all on X and YouTube. As we get set up here, again, we're breaking down the winter weather, going on here for the Northeast, Eastern U.S., all around here as I'm just uploading my thumbnail on YouTube. Don't mind me. All right. Vamo. Let's do it. All right. Mark, how are you doing, my guy? Again, loving your analysis you're doing lately, my guy. I love the track you're on. I mean, I've been doing this enough, old, but I've been doing this enough now to see when people are on the right track, and some eventually get there. Some are late bloomers, just posting model runs when they're younger. That's why I specify we have to help those people, not make those people feel bad about themselves. But we are, we do have a big weather community, so to be supportive of each other, and I think you're going to be a great asset to the weather community going forward. So hope you know that, my guy. YouTube, how are we doing? YouTube? So let's get rolling here. If you're in the chat, again, let's hit that like button, baby, and let's continue to get rocking. We had a great video post earlier today. If you did not see it, go check it out. Right. Title: There's a chance of a big snowstorm Christmas. Again, don't get too caught up, right? YouTube, I have to engage a little bit more. I try to be careful not to teeter too much over the line of clickbait and but once you click on the video, you can clearly see there's analysis, but I don't want to overstep too much. But I am trying to get the thumbnails more exciting on YouTube, so don't think I'm selling out or anything. I just trying to get more people into the share and realize we're doing something good over here, and I think there's value. Message retracted from Duramus. I can't read it then. Yeah, Mark, you're a G, my guy. So also, you can check out my lake effect snow chase that I did, and other breakdown too. The polar vortex disruption going on, a little bit more structure, but a lot of the same topics we'll be going over. But new information, new stuff to be breaking down. D Duramus NFL, how are we doing? Yes, Kevin, the weekend before is looking exciting. Before we get to the weekend, let's dive right into what's going on with next week. I overlooked, or later this weekend, I should say, I overlooked this a little bit. I originally talked about this. I was like, if it sits under the high pressure, remember we talked about this. If it sits under the high pressure enough, if this system can get far enough close, then maybe we can see something. And we've seen that happen over the past few days. Model shifted, and I kind of got caught lost in some of the longer range stuff. And granted, this isn't going to be a massive system, but it is going to provide some accumulating snow. Take a look here. You have some decent there is a little bit of 700 right. You see here at 700 millibar, we do have some energy that needs to move through, right? We look at places the atmosphere, right? Remember, here is your, let's make this just a little bit bigger, right? Imagine our vertical column in the atmosphere, right? This is not on the map. I'm drawing my own vertical column here of the atmosphere, right? I like breaking this down every time, right? Imagine this is 500 millibar vort, which we will look at a lot. Again, vorticity, just strength of spin in the atmosphere, what we're looking at here. And then if I go to 700 millibars, lower in the atmosphere, maybe it drew it too low, 850, and then down to the surface. Right, we're looking here at 700 millibars, right here in the mid levels of the atmosphere, closer to the lower levels, but not mainly in the middle of the atmosphere at 700 millibars. And you can see here, right, we have this batch of mid-level dynamics that moves through, and we still have some cold air left over from our CAD signature. Cold air damming, simply meaning cold air damming, that cold air, traveling to the to the deepest depths of the surface here, quite literally the surface of the atmosphere. Matt, I hope I'm doing okay. Busy, chaotic right now, as you know, recovering, but I'm doing okay. Anytime there's winter weather to talk about, I could be doing better. I can't be doing much better, I guess. So again, we have this system to talk about, and there's going to be some snow and ice potential here in PA, where I think there could be potentially a good pocket somewhere here of 2 to 4+ inches of snow to keep an eye out here. Again, this will be Sunday evening when we're looking at this time frame. Remember, we still have this high pressure. Some people seeing our coldest temperatures of the year, and this is going to allow this cold air left over here from the CAD signature here. Cold air at the surface left over. Take a look at these thermodynamics here. If we go to fancy, I never say that. Just look at our surface temperatures here. You can see how that cold air builds down, right? Classic cold air damming signature, where you can see that cold air, digs, all the way down into this region here, and the high pressure, right? This cold air, keeps filtering down, and it just, sits down, into the region. And if the high pressure were actually a little bit further west and north, we probably would have seen this slide under the CAD, and we maybe would have got some snow, which I was highlighting earlier. It doesn't look like that at the moment, but we still got to keep an eye on this thing here. Some of these snow bands could make it here into the Hudson Valley, and into Western England as well. So I have to keep an eye on that, where exactly that rain snow line sets up. Will be critical, because that could be the difference between you getting 1 to 3 inches of snow a Sunday night, and you getting some sleet or freezing rain, or maybe even rain too. So you have to keep an eye on this here as we take a sounding. Here's simply, right, sounding that vertical column of the atmosphere. Yes, inside. We're going to talk about that storm storms, and that's a hell of a name right there. We're going to talk about that for sure, though. YouTube, appreciate all of you coming in right now. If you don't mind liking the chat, let's expand here. We're expanding this winter. We're covering all the big storms. Here. Boom, right? Take a sound, right? Not great. In terms of, when we look at snow soundings in the atmosphere, right? This is our temperature line. The red line, green, is the dew point. We want to be saturated as possible, right? And that can allow a good snowflakes to be produced, especially in our dendritic growth zone, where the snowflake production zone is. That's where we look at most for where our snowflakes are made. And take a look here. We look at minus 20 degrees Celsius here. This line is minus 20 degrees Celsius, and then this line is minus 10. Wherever the temperature line meets at minus 20 and minus 10, that's where we look for your growth zone. So typically it's about 500 to 600 millibars, and you can see here it's right about average right now, right? Just below 500 to about 650 millibars almost. And so it's about an average dendritic growth zone, but we do have a little bit of a warm nose here at the mid to lower levels of the atmosphere, and that's why you see some of these sleet soundings and freezing rain potential. These ice soundings, because all it takes is a little bit, right? See how close you are. Once you go over this freezing line and you go above zero and you come back, you can't go. You can't snow anymore. Now you refreeze your snowflake. Your snowflake melts once it gets above zero here, above the surface, and then melts. it melts and then refreezes once if it comes back in that sleet. If it comes back, if it's there for a while and comes back late, oftentimes that's freezing rain, because that, it takes a lot longer for that, now that raindrop to refreeze, and we see freezing rain happen at the surface, but the surface is still below 0 degrees Celsius or below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And so that allows for freezing rain to happen. And so that will keep an eye on. We're seeing right now in the Midwest a pretty big ice storm happen. Again, right, it's just all about little shifts in terms. That's all it takes in real time, and it can make a real big difference on whether you're getting sleet, freezing rain, or snow. Again, not a ton of heavy snow associated with this, but there will be likely some moderate, to heavy moderate snow that goes on with this, over the weekend here. We go to 0Z HRR. We'll highlight this too again. We'll see how much, right, the storm kind of dies out as it runs into the high pressure and kind of kills this system. So we'll see how much precipitation is left farther east here. But even then, we are pulling up warm air with this system. We don't have our only source of cold air is out in front of this system. As you can see behind the system, leave rain. So we don't have a lot to work with, unfortunately, with this system for potential, but it will leave, a little bit of a mark across Pennsylvania, Hudson Valley, potentially so, and the Smokies. So keep an eye for maybe, a 2 to 5 plus area to look at, potentially PA, where, some of these, especially those elevated areas, could snow for a little while, and that will allow for, some snow to potentially accumulate across the area. This time frame is Sunday PM here. Look in the afternoon, evening, overnight Sunday, for some potential. It could be some delay potential here, in some of these areas across northern PA and central New York and southwestern Hudson Valley. So keep an eye on that. That covers the storm. A lot of you were in here for other reasons, so let's start diving our way into that. I broke down what we have going on. We have to look for right now. Where's my site? Stratoserve. I love this website. Those of you that watched my my video breakdown to the polar vortex, and the potential storm threat that comes with it. Before we talk about that, though, a YouTube chat, like the stream if you're enjoying the content, my man. Let's keep expanding this. Keep expanding this project here. Let's get everybody on board. Right, we got a cool niche going on here, I think. Let's keep in and like that stream. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Let's continue now. Here, right? We had a slight drop off our winds, did see our winds decrease a little bit, and we noticed it's going to be rising too. We have a minor, warming event going on. Otherwise, a sudden stratospheric warming event. A little bit of a tongue tie there in how you say that, but it is going to be a minor event, meaning the effects won't be as felt as at the surface. We're not seeing a full split of the polar vortex. We're only likely going to be seeing a stretch, and I'll show you to that in a second. But you can see here, right, our temperature goes up, kind of flattens out, and then maybe we keep an eye for another warming event. You can see a lot of these, it gets pretty spread out, but some of these models indicating that we could see that. And look at the winds go down again, right? We see a reversal of the winds from west to east potentially. Again, minor reversal of the winds here at the polar vortex. And that allows for a shift and change in structure of the polar vortex. God Church, what up, my guy? What up, my guy? How we doing? Glad to see you're safe back home from Utah. And so, yeah, we do look for a potential reversal of the winds here in the stratosphere. They allow, again, right, 60 degrees north latitude. So this is very, 60 to 90 degrees north latitude, right? So this is, very high up in the atmosphere, geographically, and physically, right? 10 HPA there, right? Are very high up in the atmosphere, right? So these effects aren't always felt at the surface, right? I love showing, if I go back here, I love showing this 3D vortex. It's a little bit harder to tell. Here's the GFS forecast here. This website is so cool. I mean, we showed this live. Look at this 3D animation here, right? A little bit of a minor change in the structure, but not a major one. And we do see this ended up recovering a little bit, but notice here potentially later see a little bit of change here in the structure of the polar vortex, right? Models indicating maybe another sudden stratospheric warming event down the line towards the end of December, and that could really set the stage for January. I think January could be a really good winter month. So keep an eye on January, folks. We could really do well on that. It's still too early to tell details, but potentially MJO, teleconnections, with the right polar vortex, structural changes, we could potentially have real interesting January. But again, you know me, still too early to say for sure. How does this relate? How does this polar vortex relate to the surface, right? We see a disruption now. You're like, all right, you show me this cool little image, but what the heck does this really mean, Brady? So if we take a look here, how this relates to the surface, to us, how does this relate to us, right? We go to 500 millibar height, and we zoom out here, we go to North America, and ladies and gentlemen, we get the full picture here, the full picture. We slide out. Notice this is our storm coming through Sunday night. Right, you see it a little bit. It's right. You can almost miss it right here on the ridge. It's just a big ridge, but there's a little trough in there. It's hard to see, but you can see those height lines sink just a little bit within that trough. And as we progress this here, we'll notice again we'll have that. Now we can start to see if we want to go to the stratosphere and we go to, right, this is where we're looking at, right? We're like 10 millibars in the atmosphere up here, and we go to the northern hemisphere. So now let's get an even broader picture of what's going on here. Notice you can see our warming event, right? It's about to take place over the next few days here. We'll see a sudden increase in temperature, not major again, but we will see a significant, warm up here, enough, to disrupt the polar vortex just enough. You can see here, right? Here's your warming going on up here in the stratosphere, right? And you can see your polar vortex, right, being displaced a little bit. But again, this is higher up in the atmosphere here. So this doesn't always translate, and it won't completely. Because if we go to 500 millibars in the atmosphere, and we'll go to height. Remember, right? 500 millibars, we draw that vertical column here. The atmosphere, imagine 500 here in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Here, this is your top of the atmosphere here, right? We were looking at 10 millibars before, and now we're looking at here at the surface. That's about 1,000 millibars. And we're going to be looking at 500 millibars here in height. And here we're seeing, right, notice this is your polar vortex right here, and you see that disruption now go on. This cold air gets influxed a little bit into the jet stream here in the mid-latitudes, and we potentially see some wave propagation off that main lobe of the polar vortex, and we can see a little bit of elongation, a little bit of a stretching event, and then now you see that is your pre-Christmas storm time frame. There is another one to watch right before that, though. You see that wave there? You got to keep an eye on that. If we go to North America, zoomed out here instead, keep an eye on this little wave here, where the strength of this will significantly define what happens behind it too, right? A stronger storm here will break up this ridge a little bit more, um, as well, and will impact where exactly the location of our western ridges, right? A weaker storm that moves through here will allow a stronger storm to come in behind it and drop a little bit more. And again, this all comes down to the strength, the timing of our ridges here, and how exactly the timing when the energy gets placed too. Right, the polar vortex disruption hasn't actually, we haven't seen the energy so-called come displaced yet. If we go here to the upper air stratosphere, we take a look, tropopause temperature, right? It just gives a clear idea of the polar vortex, and you can see we go to North America now, right? Now you can a little bit clearer see, right? Some of that Arctic air getting gets caught in our flow here, and we have access to this. It's just a little bit too late on this first system here for Thursday, Friday. It's just a little bit too late. Now, here's something that could change this system here. If we do see this system with the right height, with a little bit improved blocking, and we do get this cold air to catch up, Euro's a little bit quicker with it. If we do get this cold air to catch up, then we can allow for that rain line to collapse more and maybe get a moderate snowstorm for these areas, it'd be still focused on the interior, but places further southeast. A stronger storm would, most likely focus the snow primarily only on the interior, the far interior. So we got to keep an eye on that time frame for a potential storm as well, right? Very active here with this polar vortex disruption, even though it's not a major sudden stratospheric warming event. It is still going to be a factor. And then you can see after that, right, another wave propagates off that main lobe up here, the polar vortex, right? You see these whites here. These white are indicating, your coldest temperatures here. And your blues are indicating, right, this is Arctic air, not the same as up here is cold, but still cold, plenty of snow, right? And your greens and your reds here in the tropics are indicative of warmer temperatures, right? You can see here with the most active storms, right? You pull up your warmer air to meet your colder air, right? And that's kind of how big storms get created a lot of the time, right? So I always talk about, right, that thermal gradient that happens is always super intriguing to me, and that's really what you look at for some of the biggest storms potentially that take place here. Again, a lot of people, there's a misconception here that because the P type showed a snowstorm, that directly defines whether or not it actually happened, or whether it's. If you take a look at 500 millibar Vort here, the 0Z GFS show a lot on the pre-type map. In fact, this setup here is actually way better than people think it is. GFS has a tendency to shunt off a lot, and granted, we are getting sheared off some because of the elongation here directed to polar vortex. And some of this, but the GFS is known for shunting off convection, to the east, right? This is convection here from our system that's kind of getting sheared out versus being wrapped up here. And if we go to North America zoomed out, you'll notice right here with your trough, you're just about neutral almost, right? Maybe a slight tilt positive. And that's not a bad spot to be, right? Your trough is not as deep as it was last run, but it is over it, right? You can see your trough here is over, right? Right, still gets into like the Carolinas here. Your the bottom of your trough here, and your 540 line does still sink a bit. And this really isn't a bad track here. We would likely see in the short term this consolidate a little bit better, and you'd see actually more of a reflection here on the precipitation type map. You can see what it looks like here. I got no problem showing it. Right, you see it doesn't show a lot, right? It shows a little bit, and then Maine kind of gets clobbered in just northeast, right? You just barely miss the best of it here, just barely, right? And that's like 8-9 days out. And so you got to know how far out you're looking here with this system. Always got to know how far out you're looking and what it means. It does not matter what the models show now. It matters what the models show for the day of the storm. What is actually happening the day of the storm, ladies and gentlemen? That is all that matters. It does not matter what happens now. Granted, you do need to be. You can't have. You can't expect a storm to be here and magically shift to here over the course of a few days. 8 days out. That's not realistic. But um, you look at the changes here. Look at 0Z compared to 18Z. Is it really that different? Is it really that different? Yes, it is, but I mean, it's really it's a minor difference. Far out at 500 height, I get it. It shows a big reflection on the surface here, but your margins so far out are pretty thin or pretty, I should say, or that technically looking for a snowstorm on the P-type map. I don't care what the P-type map shows 8-9 days out. I could give two whats. It does not matter what the P-type map shows as far out. I care about what we have going at 500 millibars at, oh no, not this again. Slide. Yeah, there we go. I care when it shows here at 500 millibars. Upper levels always tell the story here. That's why I continue to look at these religiously before I'll ever look at a P-type map. Every time when I open up the models, you oftentimes notice I look at the P. I don't look at the P-type map. I look here at 500 millibar vorticity or heights. I typically don't even like heights that much. Always, it's typically more in the longer to help paint the picture of what's going on. You can see it. Look how close you are here, right? This doesn't mean now you that means these people don't get on the action, but look at a potential snowstorm here. You're you're like 2 frames behind from getting a snowstorm there. Two frames behind, 8 9 days out. Right, you get that upper level low. Right, you get that snake tongue look right here. Right, and it just needs to be right here. Right, you're like 2 frames behind, and that's it. It's 8 9 days out, and it's one model run. Right, people are using the P-type map as it is the end all be all with this system. Right, so I get how much I get it matters, but it really doesn't. It really doesn't. At the end of the day, what I see is, ooh, it's too far out. I don't want to go that far out, right? If we go back to North America here, what I'm noticing, if we go 12Z, 18Z, 0Z, right? Maybe a little bit of a trend back, right? After that 12Z, maybe over amplification here, back here, here at OZ, but we still have a little bit of a ridge going on here, this connecting piece here, right, of high pressure that's entrapping this system here. And we can notice you still get your access to the polar vortex here, but I think what you need to do here is you get these height lines, continue to build these. The more vertical you can build these height lines, the steeper that trough is going to come in. Right, the steeper that trough is going to come in, and no matter what happens with the storm before, the easterly ridge is often is struggles to get handled in the longer range. So no matter what happens here, that eastern ridge is going to build back in behind it, right? And it's going to be very difficult for something to push this completely out of the way, right? So part of me thinks there is a chance this could still cut. There is a shot here, but it's going to depend on how these two interact with each other. These two are going to play a game of cat and mouse with each other, and that doesn't even account for what exactly happens here with the polar vortex and the interaction that happens here, right? That interaction will define how much stream separation we get from the polar vortex itself. No, we're getting messy here. From the polar vortex itself and the upper level low we get left to work with. So there's gonna be something here, right? Models are now saying the pieces are there. There's gonna be a storm in behind that Thursday, Friday one. The question is, how strong and where? Those are the two main questions. Now, I think we're getting pretty clear. We look at all these models here, and they're suggesting we can go to Pivotal. Outside of the Pivotal, and look at the GFS GraphCast. GraphCast and AI, right? This update's so slow. It's 12Z, so it's way behind. These are the two most accurate models here, according to statistically so far this season. So, McStormerson, if you're still in here, we're talking about your event, my guy. All right, so that's that first system that moves through here. And again, how much can get out in front here, while how much can this sink at the same time will be critical, right? How much can this cold air catch up here, right? This polar vortex, right? Cold air and behind it. And you see, look at the GraphCast. GraphCast says snowstorm on. That's 12Z GraphCast. So this is our most accurate performing model right now. It says snowstorm on. You go look at 6-hour QPF here. As you can hear the Mac, the takeoff. All right, so that's your 12Z GraphCast. The storm on. So right, it's far out. It's far out. There's going to be a lot of model disagreements, and we're still waiting to see how exactly this plays out. Go to the Euro We can look at the Euro in a second. Well, if we look at the Euro AI from 18Z, this model gets delayed too, not as much as the GraphCast, but it does get delayed a little bit still. We can take a look and notice Storm on as well. Look at that upper level low there, just offshore, right? Just a frame tick too late. But look, you dig, right? Negative tilt here. It's complicated, right? You have a positive flow here with your polar vortex, but your trough that sinks in here, these height lines are going negative. So it's a little bit of a complex situation where this is shearing out some of this energy. So again, this is what comes down to how much ridging do we see here? How much ridging do we see here? There could be, this is such a specific, this thought just came to me. It's such a specific setup that could happen. I think your perfect scenario is it's a combination of the 18Z GFS today and the 12Z GFS yesterday. So I can just show you them, for example. It's fine. They're not model runs that have happened anymore. They're in the past. We can go to 18Z, and what happens is, right, you're still like, so you're still kind of in a progressive flow with this influence here, right? There's no strong ridging that's built in here at this point. So you still have this polar vortex that's taking this flow, still pretty progressive and fast. But you have this trough too that digs in. Look how deep this 18Z trough was. I mean, good lord, that's a beast of a trough there. With the height lines sinking the most here over this southeast and mid-Atlantic. And what you get here, I think this is your perfect setup, right? This is your green shot meter on 2K. This is your perfect home run swing on over the show, whatever your game is. This is your perfect right here. You get this high pressure to build in, so this storm slows up off the coast here. There's ridging, though, holds it in, but you still have this flow. It's a little bit progressive. So now all of your mid-level energy gets kind of carried. This is your perfect dream scenario. So don't think this is a forecast. But all this, right, all this precipitation, all of this mid-level energy gets kind of stretched out and consolidated now within a specific area, and it becomes a widespread big snowstorm. That's your dream scenario right there. That was your 12Z GFS and 18Z GFS today combination. And that's what makes this interesting too, because you're going to have a real deep trough potentially in that better scenario, and you're going to be pulling in some good warm moisture. And you're going to be tapping into some Arctic air as well. So I think there's a definite ceiling here for a massive snowstorm. The question what really matters is we can talk about the potential all we want. Potential doesn't mean jack without it actually happening. And I still have a lot of question marks. I sincerely don't know if this is going to play out. In nature, what keeps me optimistic here consistently, even though there is, we go back to the current GFS, because that's what the latest model run is. This is no longer a model run, but we have a big western ridge here, but we have an eastern ridge here that keeps us, that kind of, that again, it's going to be a cat and mouse game, but there's going to be a balance here of this. Whatever comes in is going to have to sink pretty deep. There's going to be something. The bigger this trough is, or bigger this ridge is, especially, whatever comes on over is going to have to sink pretty deep, and then there's nowhere for this thing to go except north. It's going to get caught in this ridge here. So this thing can't slide out so far no matter what. It can't. This thing has to go and then eventually head north, unless this ridge was so strong and eventually slid this thing like below the ridge, which would be very hard to do. So this thing there's only one way for the storm to go. The question is the depth of the trough that can allow this thing to slow down and head north. That's really what this storm comes down to. Definitely the best potential we've had so far, says Kevin Pavone on YouTube chat. Again, I'm live on X and YouTube. Feel free to chat there. either place you feel most comfortable. But I will say, if you aren't already, subscribe to the YouTube if you don't mind. We love everybody there that comes in, and I love everybody here on X too. So whatever's best for you. But Storm Machine says 1222 is definitely on the table. I don't think we know until 12Z specifically. Wow, very specific, Mr. Stormy. But yeah, I do think this is our best chance for the most widespread snowstorm that we've seen so far. But again, it's based off potential. It's not based on anything ridiculously concrete. I will say though, it's clear the pieces are on the table. There's a big western ridge that's going to form. There's a big old western ridge, and anytime you get your Montana ridge is oftentimes a classic setup to get a potential non-interior snow. So there's something to follow here. There's something to follow here, and this thing again, it can't get so suppressed because this eastern ridge builds in behind it, and I think that's what keeps me continuously interested here in this. You know, like there could be something big here. There could really be anything in between, you know, from a minor snow event to a major one. I think something happens. I think there's going to be some sort of snow, even in this weaker scenario here. Notice the GFS, you get as much dig, but you still get snow, and then it's like a clipper system. Basically, it's a late developer, and a big snowstorm happens eventually, right? Just on that run, and the P-type again, it's a lot closer than it looks on the P-type map. Right. The thing is, you're stronger here with your first system Friday. Or actually, yeah, you are. Just because this goes down, you lose more here. More gets caught up in front here. Again, real big eastern ridge. You can see here these height lines kicking up. So the storm will have trouble. The storm will have trouble, and I wouldn't lean on the super amplified side. I would still say this is an interior event. But I wouldn't lean on the super amplified side for this. There's still a lot going on, a lot of traffic. Um, so I'm still, again, you do drop in a strong vort, but if we look at the current system, look at that. That's a real strong upper level flow too. But look what happens when it runs into that high pressure. It just gets immediately, it just like gets thrown to shreds. And the one behind it, again, right? So continuous game, right? The next one gets shredded too. The one behind it, and then is stronger, and the one behind it it gets even deeper, but later in development. Let's take a look at the Euro now. The OZ Euro, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure probably didn't do anything. Is it still loading out? Sound again? Started. That's fine. That's fine. Let's take a look at the Jeff ensemble though, man. I got the Christmas Vacation song stuck in my head right now. Just watched that movie earlier today. 'Tis the season, ladies and gentlemen. So is the Jeff there yet? It's close. It's almost there yet. YouTube chat, how are we doing? Seems like you guys are enjoying the content somewhat. To wait for this Euro run to load out. We staying here. Whatever questions you guys got, drop them. Drop them in. Drop them in. Whatever you got here in X and in YouTube here. We got a lot going on right now. The next stratosphere warming event potentially down the road in January. stratosphere. We go to, let's go to 10, no. And we'll go to the northern hemisphere. And I forgot the 0Z GFS is not there yet. Fine, 18Z can get it on. We keep an eye, right? And then we look, get there. There we go, right? Keep an eye out then for another warming event here. Much better on the 18Z than the 12Z on the Jeffs, right? A little bit still spills out a little bit further east than I like, but again, it depends on where it comes at the surface. But again, it's still pretty far out, but we're starting to get an idea that there's going to be another. Again, the more more warming events we see take place here, this isn't a bad look, right? It's left over here of your last one, and there's only one place for this to go. It kind of spills then into the U.S. potentially, and we do look at maybe late December and January potentially. And again, but the more you work at your polar vortex, right? The more punches you throw at that thing, right? The more it gets torn down eventually, right? Even though we do see some strengthening. Even though we do see some strengthening here in the winds, right? Notice these start to, all these are in agreement that they go down on the longer range. So I do think there is something to keep an eye on here with maybe another warming event, and that's why I'm interested in January. I think that the strong Pacific jet will make it difficult for the storm to slow down enough, hoping I'm wrong, and the ridge axis can be strong enough. Well, the caveat here again, um, you know, with the Pacific jet is, remember, this polar vortex warming event is kind of playing a big part in what happens here. Right? This is playing a big part here, and that's what's allowing, it's playing a part of, for this to happen. And yeah, again, the strong Pacific jet could push this thing. Let's say that's true. You do have a ridge that pushes, further east. So if I go to zoom out, let's go to 500 millibars. And welcome, Dried Muffin 1074. I don't know if I've seen you in here before, but welcome to the channel. One of us. Height anomaly. Let's go to North America. Let's say you do push this further east. You still have your eastern ridge here that plays a pretty big part here. And again, even if this pushes further east, the height of this ridge will play a factor. And again, even if you have something strong out here, the timing of when this comes through as well will play a part in this ridge as well. But again, there's a pretty good model consensus here that there's going to be a building tall ridge here. Anytime, like this is the ensemble mean here. You're a new subscriber? Well, welcome. Welcome. I appreciate it. Welcome. I appreciate it. I hope to see you in here more often. We live stream all winter long, baby. We cover other severe weather and hurricanes too, especially hurricanes during that time. But we're active here, especially in the wintertime. We're going to be covering all the big storms, especially for the eastern U.S. But again, further back to your question, when we do have this big ridge here as a mean consensus, take a look here. This is the GFS ensemble. Slide here to the maps, and we go to the Euro ensemble. It's 18Z, 12Z. Build out, right? Again, another big eastern ridge. That's set up too for the Euro. Oof. Your ridge location being even further west here. And that's a beautiful setup. That's a really almost the only thing you could ask for more here is a little bit more ridging the build. And again, it's an ensemble mean consensus, so it's not it's not one run. But again, if we go here to a Canadian ensemble, you'll see again a really high western ridge here across the U.S. And so, the model consensus here, again, models are wrong a lot of the time, but the fact your model consensus is ready for this ridge to be as strong and as tall as it is already is oftentimes a positive sign. For East Coast snow lovers here. Again, we're still yet to see what happens. We're still so far out, but the pieces are there for something to happen. It's not a slam dunk setup, but how this evolves could potentially end up being a slam dunk snowstorm. It could end up being. Like, the pieces are there for it to happen. It's just at the moment, we're still too early. Currently at Dry Mountains is currently at State College at Penn State. Looks like a sneaky snow event this weekend. And yes, we did talk about that in the beginning. We did talk about it at the beginning, so you can go back in case you missed that. In case you missed that, but yes, I did think there was a sneaky 2 to 5 for a good amount of central and northern PA, and then maybe some 1 to 3s extending back into Hudson Valley. Maybe some delays for some people in Pennsylvania, Hudson Valley, upcoming. And anyways, some surprising things can happen with a cat event, but I think kind of the theme here over the next week is storms are going to be running into this eastern ridge here and dying. Running in and dying into this eastern ridge here, right? No cold air. There's not going to be a lot of heavy rain that comes along with it, likely, if so, in brief periods, because there's going to be a lack of precipitation with this, just because storms are going to go to die here into that eastern ridge. And then eventually we get a little bit of an opening up. Notice we see those height lines start to build in the western U.S. And then from there, we allow stuff to drop in behind it. And that Canadian ensemble mean is a beautiful. That's almost damn near what you want there. Look at that. Maybe again, it's an ensemble mean, but look at exactly where your trough is, or look at exactly where your western ridge is, eastern ridge. I mean, that's a pretty good look there for this far out. So I think there's the pieces. The pieces are there. They're there. It's just a question. We just got to be patient. We just got to be patient. I know people hate to be patient, but we have to be patient. I know we want all the information out. Believe me, I want the information out too. I love to pin down this 9 days out, but 8 days out, whatever. But we do have to be patient. Again, to be clear, the 18th to 19th storm event is not the same thing. Doesn't mean you can't get snow on this one here. Or the 19th to 20th, whatever, Thursday, Friday. Doesn't mean you can't get snow on this event. But it heavily favors the far interior here. But this could change. And again, what happens with this one is we talk about the domino effect all the time. We talk about it. I like using the flash example, right? You mess with the timeline, there's going to be consequences. Right? Simply meaning that, whatever happens here, right, will directly affect what happens right after. And again, the changes are so long, consequential if you really want to get into flat, whatever, the timeline, whatever. But we just care about the one after when we're looking tracking. Again, dry muffin with good ridging on the ensemble. You just need the vort to amplify enough and get sheared. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know if you were in here to see what I was talking about, but that perfect scenario is that you get a combination of both, and that allows for a prolonged period of time where that storm is slowly moving, and it's almost like you've created a little bit of a mini boundary. It's not technically, scientifically, but you create this prolonged, extended area here of potentially of dynamics and precipitation along that axis there, and that allows you an opportunity to get and that's why you saw some ridiculous snow totals on some of these runs, just because it's snowing for so long. So that's why there's a real high ceiling with this event. There's a real high ceiling event, and anytime you drop 50, 60 inches on a model run, it doesn't matter how far out, people are going to talk about it. It's just whatever. And again, there's a lot of model noise that goes on. There's a lot of Twitter noise, whatever, social media, wherever you get your information on. There's a lot of noise there. It just happens. You got to know what to filter out. Right, it relies on you as a person, to be able to know what's happening, and be able to like filter out information. It's the same with any other topic, news, politics, whatever you get, however you get your information, you yourself have to filter it out, into your lens and be able to decipher what's going on. And here with science and meteorology, it's quite simple. It's you know science is science, so it's pretty simple, compared to other stuff that it's up for debate, which we don't ever talk about because it's pointless. It just divides people. But here in meteorology, right? You have to be able to decipher what's happening. And a lot of younger people, they post their stuff. They're learning, and sometimes older people too, right? That's just how they operate. And there's no need, like it's not the end of the world. I get it though. Maybe the worst case scenario, someone tells somebody a storm is coming, and it doesn't end up happening. I get it. Then you create like meteorologists say this, but if they believe that Twitter post on their social media frame, just by that, is all meteorologists. Um, yeah, that's not the person we can be targeting to try to save, in the weather world. We just can't. Like if that's how you're going to take in information and share it to other people, then that's just on you. You have to be able to decipher information a little bit. You have to have some accountability. I take mine. I don't clickbait the crap out of people. I could. I don't consistently post long range model runs with, saying, "Oh, look what the GFS did," dot dot dot, and be like, whatever. I'm either gonna make it a funny meme, or I'm like gonna like overhype it out of like clearly being sarcastic. Always when I post like a longer range thing, or I'll post a longer range thing and be like, "This is what's actually happening." And oftentimes I'll do all three, you know. So that's just kind of everybody's so snow deprived, so everybody's kind of an easy target right now because nobody has seen snow in so long. It can get to an extreme when it becomes clickbait, but people should be able to get excited with some good model runs and have some fun. So I agree with you. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, right? And I'm not out here like like click clickbait model runs and be like snowstorm incoming. I don't do that. You guys know that. Like I don't have to be defensive about this stuff. Like it comes a topic, and I have a little bit of a platform here. Somehow you guys gave me it. I don't know why you did, but you gave this person a platform, and I guess whatever that happened. But you just got to be able to decipher what's going on and go to the people that are consistently accurate in terms of predicting. I'm hit or miss. No, I'm just kidding. I try to do the best I can for you all and for myself. More importantly, too, I have pride for myself to try to get it right every time. So, no matter, sometimes, whatever happens in my forecast, whatever, it's always going to be with the best interest of trying to get it right. And sometimes it gets a little blurry and you mess up. That's just what happens. But I'm always trying to decipher and figure out what's going to happen. And for me, that's what's most important, getting it right. Um, and also like attracting more people to this and helping them understand it too. Like it's not right out of an ego thing. It's like just to get it right. I like the stuff. I enjoy it, and I want to get it as best as possible as I can. If he does something they like, for it to be like annoying. Like I do this so I can be as good as I can. Stormy. So I think we're going to see two really good 2-3 week garages between January and mid March. Beyond overdue for this thing to line up favorably, and at least, the very least, this is a different pattern. Yeah, nothing to consider too. People over it gets way out of context. Oh, did you see it's El Nino? Oh, did you see it's La Nina? Oh, like it does, and they post like these average jet streams. It doesn't happen the whole winter, guys. Like it's so circumstantial. Every setup is different. Every pattern is different. Typically neutral and weaker El Ninos and La Ninas are more beneficial for especially non-interior places along the eastern U.S. But it's all contextual. Some winters are different. It really depends on the setup. We're going to happen to be in a neutral or weak La Nina, very weak La Nina at most. So that is a positive we do have working for us. At least we're not in strong El Nino or La Nina. So that is something, we do have to work with, at least, going forward, which is a positive, So let's see, drop off in 00Z Euro come in. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Let's take a good old look at our brother in Christ, the Euro, ladies and gentlemen. Freaking pain in my butt sometimes, but it nailed Sandy. All right, let's see here. It's the first one coming in. It's pretty weak with that one. 12Z. Pretty weak with that one. .540 line. It does dig a little bit more. The 540 does dig a little bit more. But I mean, still, this isn't wrapping up really, especially not like the GFS does. What's funny is the GFS was wrapping, this one up more. I wonder if the Euro shows a stronger storm behind it. We'll find out in a second. Not too far away. Refresh. Oh, look at that. There's a difference there. So anomaly here. On the surface, it's much. I can see why. We were digging 540 more. Sorry, I get really quiet when I analyze models. I'm focused. Just focus, that's it. All right, we're pretty much there. A little bit more progressive with this one. But what's the caveat here? Yeah, we're more connected to our polar vortex here. Need more stream separation between here. I don't know. The surface always shows something different. So we'll only get 500 volt. Boom, 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 boom. Again, whatever it showed here wasn't ever going to make or break. Yeah, it's still close. I mean, 500 volt. Surprisingly, not all that different from the last run. Actually, what did this one show? I have no idea. Oh, it was like, yeah, that was weird. I don't know what this was. It like had this like cutoff low, what was left over, and then so yeah, it was a little bit different versus what it has now. Let's see. That's like a GFS copycat. Look at that. For the run, like it's not the same now. Take a look there. You can go to GFS here. Yeah, you're probably going to over amplify that first one. It's gotten a little excited in the medium range, a lot of these, so I'll give the edge to the GFS in the medium range right now for these stronger systems at the moment. You see here, much different with the orientation of the troughs, but ultimately the same result at the surface, at least on paper. See here? This almost reminds me of the clipper we had. It's different. It's a lot different, but ultimately, the western ridge is a little bit wider versus vertical here. Again, we got to get if you get more vertical here, that thing drops in and you get a snowstorm. Again, I think regardless, you're gonna have some shot for some snow with this, whether it's a clipper, IVT, an actual snowstorm, or regardless of what happens. I think you have a shot here, but the slower this thing happens, the better. See the GFS a little bit slower with this still. It has a bigger snowstorm here. It's a little bit slower than what the current Euro has, but again, I'll come back to it. These two models are currently being outperformed by the Euro AI and the GFS so far. So I guess technically, you got to give a little bit of an edge to the other ones, but it's still far out. Things are going to change. It's really not a bad spot considering. Like this is very doable. 8-9 days out. This is very doable, but it's not guaranteed, right? There's always a caveat as far out. There's always a caveat with like trying to get to specific details as far out. Right? There's a danger to that. So not everything's guaranteed in the weather world. Yeah. Oof. That'd be something. Want to look at that P-type map? 965 above the Great Lakes. I'll do. Go to. Oh, I wanted the ensemble, right? Typically, the ensemble follows in suite. Follows its in stride, not in suite. Jesus. It follows in stride with the operational. Almost always. Go to upper air heights. 500 height anomaly. Jeff's ensemble. Yeah, that was much more progressive on that run. Not what you want to see, but see what was the biggest change. Pacific problems. It's possible. Fried Muffin made a good case. Made a good case. Made a good point. Push this. Push this. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of traffic. Is a good way of putting it. A lot of traffic that needs to be sorted out. In the northern hemisphere. What is this connected to? Yeah, it's 4 9. Those are deep height lines here. It's up here by Alaska. Jeez. A lot going on out there in the Pacific. I mean, seriously, what is this? What the heck is this? Is this real? It's like one after another right next to each other. Yeah, the first one, we talked about it. It's the domino effect. The first one directly affects what happens after. There'll be a significant correlation between the two. I always love talking about that. Let me get out of here. I mean, Jesus. How many low pressure systems can you possibly put into one? I mean, that's a lot of traffic to figure out. It was at 9:30. Son of a gun. You're gonna throw a 9:30 bomb cyclone out there. It's gonna, yeah, that's gonna mess some things up here. And all these guys are gonna play a factor. Really, again, it just all comes down to can you get this height? Can you get this just ridge to building height? That's it. That's it. That's all. That's all we're asking for here. That's all we're asking for here. That is really that's the eastern ridge is going to do what it's going to do, and this storm is going to do. You know, whatever it does affect it directly, but the real key here is the height to this trough here. The height to this trough is super important because the more it cuts in versus extends out this ridge, defines how deep this trough here over can sit in. Right. This is your vort right here. This is your storm. This is your pre-Christmas storm here. The taller this is, it goes up. Kind of Newton's laws has to come down. Not really, but it's not a bad way of looking at it. I don't want a 930 drum up. I don't want a 930 low, man, off the bench part. Man, 930, man, that's a blizzard. I don't like the blizzards. I like the snowstorms without the wind. It accumulates better, and it does not mess up my snow accumulations. But I mean, oftentimes you got to get the blizzard to get the big snow here. So I end up, however you get snow, I'm fine with it. But 930 is dreadful, man. God, Jesus. 930 millibar is gonna. I don't need that. But man, those things are so tightly in the Pacific, man. They really do. I wanted to see what happened. You get an 18Z GraphCast yet? Man, this takes forever. We look at Canadian. I have not looked at that yet. I'm assuming usually whenever a big model hit happens, someone always mentions it. So I feel like I've seen it by now, but it's fine. Canadian's pretty close to the GFS actually. It's like an in between. It's like what's good. Oh. Yeah, as it comes in behind though, that gets complicated. That gets messy real fast. That gets real messy real fast. Even though it looks kind of like that's a little bit more messy than all the other ones. What did it do 12Z? Did sync more 12Z. What happened here with this run? This is like a Euro. It's like if the Euro now sunk that trough deeper. That was the 12Z. I kind of missed that. Canadian, though, was completely different with this one. Like that one is different. Like it shows here, like you can still dig this storm. You can still dig this storm and still get the one behind it to still be like decent. Not that much ideally, but again, no, this is it. Build here, not here. That's your key. What was the euro with that first one? I'm supposed to look at it. I got sidetracked. Yeah, just that 540 doesn't catch up in time. Close. It's like exactly the picture we painted, though, so can't say we're too surprised with that. Anything interesting back here? No. Again, we're still, even though we do get access to the polar vortex here, remember, they're not long-term surface effects here, so we do see a bit of yeah, we do see a bit of transience still in this pattern. Um, that's a word. Jesus. It's still a reload pattern. So we go back and forth, back and forth. Cold, warmer, cold, warmer. We probably still finish December, below average in a lot of the eastern U.S. Unless we get a few real warm days that one day of getting 50s and 60s really brought us back close to average here. But again, this weekend, then we did get colder again. So we go to. Actually, I don't have the temperature anomaly map, but 18-0 close, just off the coast, a bit too much. Yeah. Story of my life. I'm just kidding. I'll be patient, man. Give me the one big one this year. Give me that one big storm and make the boy happy. That's it. I just want the big storm. I can really live with everything else that happens. Just give me a band to sit over my house. That's it. That's all I want. That's all I want for Christmas, really. Okay, the Canadian Ensemble. Go to Heights. Upper Air Heights Anomaly. I don't know if that's the same as the last one, but yeah, it's a little bit more progressive. All these OZ, they typically tend to fall in line. Actually, our ridge placement is better, I think. It's not actually. It's just not as strong, maybe. Yeah, it's just not as strong. I overestimated. You can see it's a little bit more, right? All the time we see like the OZs nowadays, like it's just like so predictable now with all these models. Like they all like do the same changes typically, like run to run, and then they all like play catch up at the same time. It's like so annoying now. It's like we're getting farther. Like even when they are like apart, like they all like catch up the same. Like they just like they all play from behind like at the same time. It's just so annoying. So that's why it's like nice to have these AI and GraphCast models like that are not the same. Like they're different from these other models here. Like, they are different, and they've been performing more accurate. So that's like I'm just like it's like the oldest. Like you use models again, they're tools, but this old cycle of models here is just it's tiring a little bit because they're just the same stuff always. Here's your Euro AI. You can see the change we've seen here. Then the 6Z, the 12Z, 18Z, right? All the models that were doing that progressive, right? The Euro AI, remember, was ahead of everything else doing this. And now notice it kind of bring it back. slowly here. Slowly, right? OZ, right? This is what the models look like now. 12Z, 18Z. All right, slowly walking it back. Slowly walking it back here. So that's why I look at it. It's the second best performing model so far statistically. WX model casting on X has a lot of good content and posts about that stuff for sure. I can pull up his account for you using the X chat earlier. Oh, we do have the lake effect snow going on too. That was a big one. There's so much going on in the longer range that I didn't even talk about the lake effect. We do cover lake effect stuff too on here, so UX Worldcast here. This account here, they're on a lot more blue sky now, but they do have a lot of good model data that they do go over. So numeral weather prediction upgrade. He has a good list thread there of stuff to look at in terms of model changes and performance. So if you are curious, it's Euro AI, man. Respect on its name, right? It's like the models are almost playing from behind always with this model. It feels like. It feels like they're always playing from behind it. This is the graph cast right now, man. Again, this is our best performing model. This was a 12Z today, I should say. So this one literally plays from behind as well, and just later. 18Z yet? No, not yet. Just comes in later. And that's exactly what you want. You want it a little bit deeper. I'm surprised actually that trough is not deeper. You don't get quite enough stream separation there. But I'm surprised given how tall this ridge is here. And my Mac is real. It's running slow right now, but that this doesn't dig down deeper here. And with the way this builds in too. Surprised this doesn't build in more given how strong this is. So hey, the graph cast unrelated, but the high pressure northeast is very related. If you might have just been quiet, but Kevin, we were talking about earlier that high pressure right now is related. Our easternly high pressure is locked, right? It's locked in here. This eastern ridge, it's locked in here. So very related, Kevin, technically. 1 point for Kevin. Yes, we are cold right now too. We are cold. Come on. There you go. All right, see how much more vertical that GFS run was, though. Right, so an in between of the Euro AI and GFS are two best models right now. Again, I'm playing for the it's maybe playing for the home team a little bit if you're isolating the models that you want to happen versus where the other models are. But the other models aren't in a bad spot either, and they played behind with this. How is the new Euro looking? You talking about the Euro AI or the current Euro, like the actual Euro and the run that came out? Flood weather. The current run that just came out was not actually really not super different from earlier. Kind of a late bloomer off the coast. It just digs the trough a little bit too late. A little bit too late here. Got to get this to sink in a little bit earlier. A little bit earlier, and that requires a little bit more vertical of a western ridge for this thing to sink in here. That was the current Euro. The Euro AI, like the new version of the Euro, is this model right here. And again, see a little bit of the difference here. Similar to that Euro, but and broad, but does consolidate an upper level low sooner. I'm surprised this thing kicks as much east as it does. With how strong this east, I would really bet against that maybe, but if we are super connected here, then that will make it difficult, and we'll kind of shear this out. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword here. It's a combination of things that need to happen, that may not happen. It's all big one. This word kerfuffle, I guess we can use. I don't think I've used it yet all season, but it's all big one kerfuffle right now. That needs to play itself out. There's a patience that's required for this, and a lot of people don't want that. They want answers now. But just gotta be patient. 2 frames. Do this 2 frames back, right? 1, 2. Even 1 frame back. You're about 1 frame. You're about 1 frame late here, and sinking that a little bit deeper. You do what you do here, here. Snowstorm. Right? Slim margins, but that's the reality. And slim margins on a P-type map far out, is a lot of up in the air still. All right, I know you hear that all the time, but that's the reality. We don't have a crystal ball. Right? Some people make predictions. Sometimes they work out, other times they don't. Curious. Another thing to watch here is maybe your AI shows your ridge wrapping in here. That's another thing. If you can just get this to be a little bit later, it allows for this build-in to happen here. That's the key. I think the reality is, to get your biggest kind of event here, you're going to need some sort of ridging to build back in here. You're going to need some sort of ridging to build back in there to really trap this system and allow it to slow down and pull north. I think that's one of your biggest keys here is let this system, right, again, the bigger the western ridge, the taller the western ridge, I should specify. The taller the western ridge, the better. Right, the taller, right, the more your ridge is like this versus this, the better. Right, and again, only to a certain extent. Only to a certain extent do you want to do that. You want to be able to pull this thing in too far. But remember, the 12Z GFS today took this thing to God knows. Right, your 12Z GFS was so over amplified today. Look where it takes this thing. It's a complete flow here, and it's a friggin' Pennsylvania, New York interior snowstorm. Right, this thing, boom. That's not the solution you want. So you'll not play with this so much here. But as you get closer, there starts to be less. See how much slower that is too? 0Z, 18Z. See how much faster 18Z was too? So that's the thing. It's really timing as well, right? And the strength and the placement exactly where that ridge is really going to play a part. Exactly how our energy comes in. Right? People get sometimes annoyed with energy. It doesn't matter. It's about you understanding what's going on in the atmosphere. And that's what's happening here. And even on this one, you can see this ends up being like it gets sheared off. So it never really consolidates, and it just pivots and stretches out. I think this 18Z GFS right here is your golden path here for a big mid-Atlantic northeast snowstorm. Look how this tongue here at 500 kind of opens up, and you shed all this right here, and boom, and you kind of stretch it out along this line with deep Arctic air here, and you'd probably overperform here with good ratios, in my opinion, but that's a specific scenario unfolding. That's your path here. That is your path. All right, slow this down to the point. Right, eventually this thing's going to slow down. The question is where. All right, this western ridge is going to push against this, with this eastern ridge here, trapping it. Question is, where do you slow it down? And this is textbook. We can come back to this frame right here pretty consistently as the gold standard, your 18Z GFS kind of. It's a mosquito in here. Jesus. December, it's 20 degrees outside. There's a mosquito in here. Well, welcome to my world. But yeah, so, and again, this would hold too, because this would hold for a white Christmas, because it'd be cold behind it. The cold air holds till Christmas. Actually, there might even be a storm system on Christmas on this one. There is a little bit of a clipper. It's 18Z still, but point remains. Let's see, there's another system on the Euro behind the one we were talking about. The new Euro, I'm guessing. Take a look here. Talking about like 300 out, 200 out. This one? I mean, this is kind of far out. But this big old thing here, I'm guessing. Far out, but yeah, I mean, look how you drop your energy. I mean, you drop way far south. So your 540 line's real far away. Not tapping into the cold air at that point, which would be unfortunate. My biggest thing too here, you need your cold air. So again, that PV disruption is everything. That polar vortex, this right here, polar vortex is a critical part of this, right? And that's a big part of why we're seeing snow with this up here, is because the setup would be snow with the right track, because your Arctic air is now tapping in, right? It comes in on the latter half of your Thursday, Friday storm, right? Comes in behind it. Right, there's your cold air now. Sets the stage, and then another wave propagation off this, right? And this like circulates, and waves come off of it. But you only really get two to work with, and one of them you kind of miss the timing. And then the one after, you just hope it doesn't get screwed by the one in front of it. Right, and then that's it. The PV. So it's like we don't get to work with the PV anymore. Now it's other side of the thing to work with it, unfortunately. So now, yeah, it's just the way the cookie. But the good news is you do have the polar vortex to work, right? And that's the key here. You got the polar vortex to work with. Have Arctic air, right? And you have down at like base valley here. You have a big western ridge. You have a big western ridge that's gonna get very vertical, very vertical. something's going to drop in behind it. The sooner this can get vertical, I think that's another aspect I didn't talk about. This is a key here. Listen in, ladies and gentlemen. This is a key. It's not that big, but it is important. All right. Hey, if you're enjoying the content, YouTube, like the stream, baby. Like the stream. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Maybe you're coming from one of my other videos. We cover all the big storms, baby. We cover all the big storms. So come on in, especially if you're from the Eastern U.S. Come on in, like the stream, consider subscribing. Your boy Brady here is going to be covering all winter. Come on in. Live streams too, baby. The timing of when your ridge gets vertical will be a critical aspect of this. I think this. I'm starting to I just kind of came to the top of the dome here, and oh my god, this thing's loading so slow. I can't with it. I just can't. Go to North America here. This is. Pay attention. Class in session. How soon does this gain latitude? How soon does this gain latitude? Right, some of these other GFS runs, if we compare it, let's take a look here. If we compare it here with the GFS, right, this 18Z we kind of keep coming back to as our golden child here. See, that was hour 168. So let's go to hour 174. All right, so we can line it up perfectly, kind of. This is when your storm comes in here. The height and the timing, right? You see how we're building more vertical here, right? And right? So the fact that this western ridge here, again, right, these height lines in the atmosphere being so high, the more these build in higher here, the more this allows this storm to come in and sink. So the timing of when these height lines build is going to be absolutely critical to whether or not y'all can be happy on Christmas with a foot of snow. I don't know, whatever, however much. This is a key piece here. This is a super key piece, and I'm glad I've been streaming as long as I have been. I may have missed this aspect. I mean, I would have gotten to it eventually, but this is critical. So let's see how models handle this here. All right, so this storm system that comes in here off the coast next Wednesday here in the Pacific, this will play a factor in that. Right, this kind of eats away here at this ridge. So the sooner this ridge builds back in here, Bubba News, how are we doing, my guy? The sooner this builds back in here, the stronger, I should say, the slower this thing comes back in. And this gives an opportunity, again, I said it, the higher your ridge gets, the lower your trough is going to sink. And that is how you can get a snow. And that is how you get places not only closer, not only do you get more people involved for bigger snow, you get more people involved in general. That's why some of these runs you've seen, like the Carolinas get involved in the mid-Atlantic here. That's your path to doing this. So, yeah, Bubba News. I love doing this report. If you all love this doing report too, I'm gonna keep saying that. We gotta like the stream, baby. I'm telling you, there's not many people on here who are gonna be doing what I do in all winter. I promise you. Not many people are going to be on here 1 to 2 hours a night breaking the stuff down, like the details that I will be going into for all these big storms. So for you guys that are tuning in right now, I do this like religiously. You can go back here since the start of the winter. I've been doing this for a lot of winters now, but you can come. I appreciate Muffin. You have a great one. Come back in. Keep coming back in, and you can keep talking about this stuff. But I'm telling you guys, I'm here all winter long. I'm not here to go. So for all these big storms, especially that happen in the eastern U.S., I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be breaking this stuff down. So and I do this in depth, but I also simplify the stuff. I break it down. I think there's not many people on here, on this, especially on YouTube here, that do it the way I do it. I don't have a vast, incredible knowledge of meteorology. I just study this stuff hard, like I say. Right, I've learned a lot over the years. I've gotten a lot better at this stuff, and I'm going to keep getting better. I'm still a newbie at this, kind of, realistically, compared to a lot of people. I'm not an old timer, but I love this stuff, and I'm going to be working hard all winter at this for you guys. So, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is how I'm gonna grind this winter. And this channel on YouTube here will get bigger, and here on X we keep getting bigger on there too. But we strictly just love the analysis. So Triz Life, much respect, dude. Much respect to you, Triz Life. Appreciate you coming in and maybe liking the stream too. I appreciate you all. Again, if you haven't, go hit that like button, baby. Cannot tell how bad will Indiana be hit. Bill R. Indiana will likely feel they'll be cold, it'll get cold, but probably there could be some snow with this as well, potentially down the line, but likely not. I would say Indiana is not favored to be able to get a big hit from either of these systems. I'd keep an eye on here. Indiana could get some antifrontal snow, depending on what it could get some snow, rain to snow, something here mid to late next week, Wednesday, Thursday. But then what comes in here be very difficult for Indiana to get anything significant right before Christmas with that system. Again, this is 18, so it's a little behind, but you would likely not get anything significant. 18 is so I would keep an eye again. Rain to snow potentially. Those details TBD on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday. You could get some light snow, possibly. Maybe some lake effect snow, depending on where you live in Indiana, but nothing likely major. Bearing some drastic changes. It would really take some drastic changes. Beyond that, still a little bit hard to tell. You could be favored potentially for more, depending on the storm tracks here at the end. You could have a shot, maybe. It could be too warm even for that. So keep an eye. But for now, probably cold, lighter, probably no major snow events, and cold air that comes in behind it. But again, not for long. Cold air does not last forever with this. So even if we do get a big storm, the snowpack may not hold. But again, the details still TBD, especially with another polar vortex warming event that's going to be ongoing probably right about time here in late December, right? If we go back to our Strat Observe here, these are all the models, right, predicting, what's going to be happening. I think this, you see our winds start to decrease again towards Christmas and our temperature rise just after Christmas here in the polar vortex. Again, there's a lot of spread in between here, as that's pretty indicative, right? You see the spread, all over the place still. So there's still a little bit of uncertainty with that. So I would lean very big caution with what's going on beyond the storm, right? Anything that's really beyond the 23rd right now, I would advise extreme caution when forecasting. Extreme caution when forecasting anything beyond around the 23rd right now, around this storm. It's very unclear. I'd say there's likely going to be a warm-up just because the way the polar vortex filters out then into the Atlantic, and then Europe gets their turn. But I would say there's an extreme amount of uncertainty what goes on beyond this time frame. So again, there's still, you have a real potentially strong systems in the Pacific that really take over, and classic just ridging that builds in here. It makes it impossible for really to get some snow potential in this area of the United States. But again, details very much to be determined at this point. We really can't say too much beyond. Anybody that does is probably blowing smoke a little bit, but January could get interesting. January could be interesting, I think. We'll keep an eye on that MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation, which is a teleconnection we look at, becomes more favorable for the eastern U.S. likely. We likely head into phase 7 and 8 potentially into January, depending on that. Sometimes can stall and take longer than sometimes forecasted, but actually, let's take a look here now at the Madden-Julian oscillation here. Beautiful here on weather maps. I have access to the teleconnections here. Right? You can see charts, teleconnections. Again, I appreciate all of you here on YouTube chilling with me right now. Wherever you are at, just know you very much appreciate it. And every time you hit that like button, you make my day. So I very much appreciate it. And the new subscribers we have gotten recently, thanks for coming in. I hope you keep coming in for the future because we are going to go all out this winter forecasting. So let's take a look here. Can I get having Julian oscillation? Son of a gun. Okay, fine. MJ Oneo oscillation forecast. The Madden-Julian oscillation, often associated, right, more convective feature we look at. And also, one of out of all the oscillations, the negative NAO we look at, or the sorry, I just like negative NAOs. The NAO we look at, the AO, the Atlantic oscillation, the North Atlantic oscillation, right? All these, the PNA, all these different, things we look at here. Here's our chart here. Did I zoom in too much? Go back. Here we go. You better see it now. All right, so we're in phase 5 currently. See, maybe we stall here. Phase 6. Some models trying to get here and skip phases very fast, but typically you go around the world, kind of how it works. But it's a convective pulse kind of here in the MJO. And it's a very important hurricane season as well. Very important. We look for this to slide around. You can see here, eventually this does build. This is to December 27th. You can see here at the end of the month. Then we almost get to phase 7. And then beyond that, it'll likely get closer to phase 8 here. Just to give some perspective here with what's going on in the MGO, and that oftentimes is associated with cooler and wetter weather in the eastern U.S. For those that don't know, there are, us in Indiana, in the area here, we'll probably get a dusting, maybe 2 inches, in his opinion. Oh, look at that! Bub News has got your own forecast for you, Bill R. Look at that! We got Indiana game coming in. Any Pacers fans there? Colts fans? I am not an Indiana fan. I'm a Massachusetts sports fan, unfortunately for you guys, but I'm hated proudly as a New England sports fan all around. I own it. It's okay. We win a lot. So it pisses people off. Let's see. We got the Euro ensemble to load in yet? Maybe. Yeah, there we go. The guys, the EPS loads in so much freaking quicker than it did last year. It's incredible. Oh my god, I love this new Euro. Even if it's wrong, guys, I don't care. The fact that loads in so much, it was going to be wrong anyways, but now at least. Come back. Again, it's so hard. I mean, looking at this. Oh boy, a little stuck here. There we go. What are we gonna do here? Oh, we're gonna compare it. I mean, come on now. Oh, that's 18. Ooh, no, don't do that. Go back. Whoa. Hey. See, 192. I mean, that's not too different. In fact, our western ridge on the EPS is stronger. Freaking mosquito. Guys, it's December 14th. I got a mosquito in my workspace right now. I'm not having it. Okay. That western ridge. It did extend out a little bit, but it did strengthen the core of this here. or we possibly just had more ensemble members, hone in on that specific spot as well. Can always be the case here, but we did slow this guy back here on the EPS, which we like it, right? That's a key here. The timing of when this piece comes in, right, it directly affects how much this ridge pushes. So there's two aspects, right? Another lesson from Brady here, right? We're in the lab currently, guys. All right, gotta pay attention. Stuff going on, right? I don't know why you're listening to me, but actually, I'm all right. I'm not bad, but here there's two pieces to this western ridge I want to look at for timing. It's the beginning and the end. What comes in behind it, right? So we see here, right? This storm system comes through here. Well, I actually believe that is our storm system. Maybe it is indeed, right? So our original storm system that comes through, all right, this is it right here. So think about how far away we still are. Think about how far away we still are with this system here, right? It's still 4 days away from being, oh boy. Oh wait, I didn't click the pen. Still 4 days away from being sampled here, from even on British Columbia. So this thing still has a long way to go before the energy gets here, the vorticity, to better phrase it, be more specific. People get mad at that sometimes. I don't know why, but they do. So this comes ashore, right? And then we wait. We need that height to build back in right away, especially vertically. Let's see, what was the difference? I want to see how that came in. What was the difference between how this energy came in on the GFS from OZ to 12Z? All right, we're looking here, guys, this area right here, right now. This is a key part. I look at all these little details, all these little details, freaking, they add up, and they make a difference at the end. I'm gonna try to outsmart the weather models by looking at all these little details and seeing where it gets us at the end. So again, you left for a second, pay attention. It's lab, it's session, school's in session right now. Let's see, so this was the OZ, 18Z, a little bit further south. Oh, this cutoff flow plays a part too, though, right? 18Z. This cutoff flow plays a part here. Right here. This guy plays a part. Not even any precipitation on it, but there's a trough there. It does show up eventually, right? So 18Z is weaker. So that is a real specific individual thing too, guys. That, right, all these little factors are playing a part. So that's why we got to be patient a little bit with this. We got to be patient. All these little factors here are playing a pretty big aspect. This cutoff low, right? And this is directly associated with this system. We got to be patient, guys. We got to be patient. We're not really moving quite in any. The pieces are now, today it became clear the pieces are on the table. The pieces are on the table. Now we got to wait. That's just the reality. Because I'm trying to break this down already and get into specifics, and it's really hard to do 8 days out in general. There are too many little things going on right now for me. I can look at them all. We can break them down, which we are. That's the point of this. But there are too many little things here for me to be, 100%, like, oh my God, like there's a storm definitely happening here. Patience is required. So we'll look at this one more thing before my computer fails out on me. Delete some stuff here. Try to save some here. There we go. Come on. So what we see here, yeah, I mean, it's just so directly. There's so many different pieces, right? This cutoff flow here, how that is completely connected to this system, and there's so many pieces connected to this system, right, with the polar vortex, and then this directly affects what happens with our ridge here, right? This directly affects how our ridge builds in latitude, and then eventually our system that does eventually come ashore here, still here, right? Still a long ways out. And that defines then how, if I die randomly, it's because my battery died. So if it does end rapidly, you'll know why. I am charging it, believe it or not. It was full charge at the beginning. But so this, right, this comes in here, right? And what comes in behind it, again, how the ridge comes in behind it is key. We want to build this more vertical here. And then again, this big old, whatever happens here, this suggestion that goes on out here behind it, that will be so hard to figure out. This will be messing with this, I guarantee you. If we do have a big snowstorm, this will mess with this western ridge so much here. And it will make it a nightmare to forecast a little bit. So there's still a lot of things that need to be figured out here. Right? Ideally, the more this ridge can build like this versus this, the better. Right? To put it simply, what we're looking at. Right? Because that allows the closer these two can get to each other, the more, right, this weakness in the ridge can fill back in. And the more we can lock it in. Just as of what we have right now. Again, you do too much of a good thing, turns into a bad thing. So I'll specify that by saying you can only do so much before it goes wrong. So you gotta keep an eye on this feature here, on how these two build in, right? Simply down the line, deeper, build these two back in to get a bigger storm, but only to a certain extent. That's the key. That's what you want to look for if you want to see a bigger snow event, right? This allows more people further south here to get a snow too, right? Our Indiana folks, Midwest folks. It gets more people involved here. It gets more people potentially involved here in the south, and it gets a big old snowstorm involved here. So that's what you're looking for to potentially take place. So I feel like we covered we covered this stuff pretty well in depth. I'm gonna check that GraphCast, see if it came out. You figure the 18Z GraphCast would come out. It did. Again, those are our two best performing models so far to start the season: the GraphCast and the Euro AI, in that order so far. So let's keep paying attention. Let's keep watching. All likelihood, I'm going to be back here almost every night, guys. So this is just the beginning, potentially, if we do get a big snowstorm to follow here. I appreciate all of you guys, coming in here and repping BGWX. We got some new people in here tonight. It's awesome. We're growing the channel. I'll keep trying to do some of those YouTube premieres too. I took too long editing, and I had to mess up with Photoshop today with a problem with that. So hopefully I don't have to make a snow map for this next storm. But we're gonna keep going, guys. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep expanding here, and it's gonna be a lot of fun this winter. Again, I think we have a cool niche. Nobody really breaks down the storms as in depth and all these little details. Like I do. Like they like to give you, like, we still give the same plain, simple answer to the forecast, but for me, I'm gonna break down all these little things, what I'm looking at, and give you some perspective I can say it, I've made a lot of accurate forecasts before. I've messed up a good amount too, but I've made a good amount of accurate forecasts before. And it really comes down to highlighting all these minor details, and they all add up. And so the more you break these down, the more you become familiar with these setups, the easier it gets in due time to know what you're looking at and how it relates. Sometimes you get too caught up and miss things, but oftentimes being very detail oriented, and studying the crap out of this stuff simply is just what's helped me along. So if you haven't already, I say a lot, but some people just like to like need to be reminded. That's it. It's okay if you don't, but like the stream, again, like the stream, subscribe if you are new here. Again, go check out my video, my most recent video if you haven't already here. We have a couple out. I break it down very clearly here. If it does load, here, there we go. Come on, we're loading a bit slow right now. That's fine. Come on, come on. View my channel. Yes, I would love to view my channel if you let me. Right, so right, we can see all our live streams we've done here. Right, these couple videos here though, check them out. Right, this is in depth breaking down what we did. It's a little bit more clearer if you want a little bit more structure. You don't want to rewatch this whole thing. Same stuff up in this video here, breaking down that 18Z GFS. Basically, this is your how to get a big snowstorm simplified. So go, if you haven't checked those out, please, it does me a huge favor, right? Especially that last one, super short. Especially the YouTube algorithm loves people that are subscribed, that watch it. So yeah, I love you guys that are in here with me every night. It means a lot. So let's keep this grind going here, and again, appreciate you all. So we're going to be back here probably pretty frequently over the next over the next 7-8 days. So let's have a good time. All right, I appreciate everybody coming in now. And again, check out these videos here. Check out the videos here and my lake effect stream if you haven't already. I think it's a lot of good content. Right here is my lake effect stream from last year. Sorry, video. My lake effect chase. My lake effect chase here. Lake effect chase here. Broke these down here. I appreciate you all. Hasta la vista.